Hey there. All right, let's sign up some users. So before I get into the action to do that itself, I want to talk through the process a little bit because here's where we start to get into some of the project settings in Builder and authentication types and sign up settings and those things. So the process will look like this. The user will be on your homepage. They'll enter their email address. They'll put in a password. They'll sign up. What's going to happen when they sign up is they won't have access yet. They'll be put on a wait list that you're going to manage. But then at the same time, they're going to get an email triggered automatically to their inbox that says, hey, thanks for signing up. You're on the wait list. We'll let you know when you have access. So let's look in some of the settings here first in the project. So we're in the project settings for this project. We're going to go to this authentication tab. And here's where you get lots of options and flexibility with Builder, where you can really build out a bunch of different sign up and sign in workflows for users. We're going to keep ours relatively straightforward for this course. So notice first thing, authentication type, you have some options here. You could say no authentication, anyone can just get in here. Otherwise, we need a password and a token, a password only, and a token only. We're only going to use a password here, but to make it a little more flexible for the pattern in the future, I'll choose password and token. And then the sign up method will be public in this case. So I can go and create end users internally, or we can do it through a public page, which we're going to do on the home page. And then the other thing that's going to come into play that I'll expand here is the sign up settings. So here, instead of immediate sign up, if they just put in their email address and password, then they have the ability to sign in. We're going to do a wait list first. We're going to gate this a little bit. So we're putting that option on waiting list. So now the end user is added to a wait list. The other things below this, we're actually going to forego. We are going to create another admin page later, which is a users page, which will have an action on it with a button click to move the users off the waitlist. The other way you could do this in Builder here is you could set up email provider settings, which we'll do a little bit of to send them the email on the sign up action. But what this will do is if you're internally going to your end users table, and I'll show you how you can manually move users off a waitlist without building the table I'm going to build, you can then, within a third-party email provider like SendGrid, have some templates, like some dynamic templates to say, once this user's moved off the wait list, send them an email from within SendGrid. But we're actually going to use SendGrid, but we're not going to use these provider settings. We're going to use it within a SendGrid action in the studio that you'll see pretty soon here. So let's close this out. So as the owner of this app, I should have access to everything, right? I should have access to the public pages, the course page itself, once I'm taken off the wait list. But as the admin, I also need access to my admin pages so I can save my lessons, edit them, and then manage my users. But I don't want my users to have access to my admin pages. So I'm going to use this field later to restrict them from getting to those pages by looking for this as essentially a true or false, and then if it's false, redirecting them to the course page or the public page. I haven't quite decided yet. So create those two fields. Close this. Close this. Now let's build the action. So we're on our home page. We need a new action group here. Let's call it sign up with email and password. So there's the built-in action. Let's find it. User sign up with password. And because the sign up settings and the project settings are sign up to waitlist, that will work. So we want to map to the login ID field. We'll bring in from the current page, from the email input element, which is down here. So we're taking the email address and saving that as the login ID in the table, in the data collection. And then for the password, we're going to take from the current page, from the, make sure I get the right one here, from our sign up input container, the enter password input. So we're saving whatever's in that input box to the password field in the data collection. Couple of other fields I actually want to map here based on the two new fields I created, the custom fields, is we want to take the first one that we created, the user status field, and instead of bringing in something from an element on the page, we're going to change this option here, and we're just going to bring in text. And so when they first sign up, we're just going to set this value as them being on the waiting list. And then similarly for the admin status, bring in text. Oops. Yep. Bring in text of 0. So we're going to use 0 as meaning false. So by default, when someone signs in, they are not an admin. And then later when we create the admin users page, we'll create a way to edit that. So I can say that I'm the admin, I'm going to make that value 1 and then use that to allow me to access the admin pages. So now notice in this action, there's all these other actions we want to use. And this is where our success containers and other containers come into play. So we need actions associated for when Bildr knows that the user was signed up and they're in the data collection. And then if they already exist, and then if something went wrong. So we need to create these actions first. And these are very quick. So the first one I'm going to create is show success. Now remember, those containers from the last lesson by default have that element class of display none on them. So we're going to use the remove style class action from, what was its name? Let's go check what its name was. Oh, I think it starts with container. Sorry, we're looking for the class remove first, which is display none. And then we're removing that from this container towards the bottom, of course. Success. That looks right. Okay, so now let's create two more. Show error. Action, remove, style class, display none from element container, whether it was warning or error. One more. Show neutral message, action, remove style class, display none, and our neutral container. Okay, now we'll go back into our sign up action and use those actions so that when there is success, we show success. If there is an existing user, we show that message, and if for some reason there's an error, we show that. Okay, now we also just want to clear those fields on sign up. So like we did before on our admin page, when someone submits something, we don't want to leave that text in the input fields. So we're going to 2 times here set the element value and leave it blank. So first we'll clear out the email input, and then we'll clear out the password input. Okay, And we'll put these to wait again to make sure that we confirm that the stuff gets saved on the back end before we clear those fields out, and we don't throw out the information before it gets saved. Okay, I think, yeah, there's one more action here, which is getting the email triggered. So within Bildr, there's an action here that will add called send email from Twilio SendGrid. We'll add that in, and then we'll just walk through this. So we're going to do, again, taking information from the input, so the current page. Where we want to send this email is to the person who just entered their email address. So from the email input, the value. And then from the reply tos, in this case, I'm going to go and hard code in my address. So the reply to is mine. Paste it. I'll say my name. Oops, I don't know why that happened. Say my name. And then again, the subject of the email we'll just put in text. Say, let's say the name of the course, greatest. And then the message, again, we're just gonna keep, instead of using stuff that's on the page for these, actually for message, I don't want to use text. I want to use text area, so I can have multiple lines. And say, we'll just keep this quick for now. In the pattern, I'm going to do a few things here that you'll have to override, and I'll put in some notes. Essentially, this course will have a README for it, so I'll put some generic text in the message. I'll leave the from and to blank. And then the other thing I'm going to have to do is, now to use SendGrid, I have a SendGrid account. I have an API key in there that I'm going to use here. And I actually don't think I created it. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to go do that and come back and continue. So I got my API key. I'm going to show you where I put it. So it's saved as a secret. So another thing in this course, I'll have this API key in here for this demo for the course to show you, but I'm going to blank it out. And so to use this pattern as is, you'll need a SendGrid account. And once you have a SendGrid account, you go into your account settings, create an API key, and copy it. And then go into the project settings to secrets. So here's where you store, say, API keys for third-party apps that you're using to do things like this, like actually conduct the transaction, which is the email sending. And I created a new secret, called it SendGrid. And you can see here, you can't see it. If I wanted to reveal the value, I'd show this, but I'm not going to do that. And we'll close this out. So now that we have this saved as a secret, we can go back to this action and use the API key, which is the SendGrid one we created. I think I want to do one more thing before we test this, which is to move this part of the action group to be second. That way, just in case, we don't want to clear these things out so it knows to send which email address to send this to. Now let's hook this action up to the sign up button. So go to the sign up button element, events, on click, sign up with email and password, and let's go to live view and see if it works. So go to the home page. I'll put in that same, what did I use? I'll put the same email address that it's coming from. It should still work. Put in a very insecure password, hit sign up. Beautiful. One thing I missed here, which I'll fix in the pattern, is we displayed our success message, and this is okay, but my preference would be now to just hide this because they're not going to sign up again, or they don't have like somebody behind them also wanting to sign up. So what I'm going to put in the action is to apply set style class of display none to the container that holds the inputs. But before we go, let's just confirm a few things to make sure everything worked here. So first, let's get back into project settings, or not, rather end users table, to make sure that I'm in there and I'm on the waiting list. So I'm in this users data collection. There I am. So that worked. That's why we got our success message, and I'm on the waiting list. Other thing I want to do is I've got my email here on my other screen. I'm going to pull it in. And here it is. The only thing I noticed here, which we can fix, is this came through with HTML. So let's change that. Let's drag this out of the way. Let's close this out and close this out. Let's fix that, and let's fix this not disappearing the way we want it to. So we'll go back into our action. We'll go back into our send grid action, and I believe if I go to message type and change that from plain text to HTML, that should fix the HTML issue, and then add another action in the group, which is adding a style class of display none to our container that holds the sign up elements. Here. So I am going to go test this again, pause it, and then come back and hopefully show you the stuff that got fixed. And I'm back and we have success. So I submitted another sign up. We're no longer showing the inputs in just the message. And then I cleaned up the email, so I'll drag it back in right here. There we go. Beautiful. All right, so next lesson, we're getting deep. We're going to build out a way to manage our users so we can restrict them from getting to our admin pages, and so we can take them off our wait list so they can access the app. See you there. Bye.